Janet, you can hear us, right?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Okay, we'll fix that. That's over here. Oh, Isaac. Hi, Janet.
Perfect.
Okay,
Right.
so, Arlington Water Board regular meeting, April 28th, call the meeting to order. I don't, we do have one additional topic, which is the VOSHA report on the, would you say pump house? Is that what I should call it?
Yes.
VOSHA report on the pump house. I thought we could do that under all other business, but if you feel like, whatever. Are there any publics? Do we have any publics? Are there any publics? So what we'll do is we'll get a report from Josh. We have a policy discussion about the fees. We have the accounts receivable, VOSHA, and then an executive session. So, we should be able to crank on through that depending on how much discussion we have going on. So everybody should have
One other
two.
question.
Yes.
Did you have minutes from the previous meeting?
I probably do have minutes and I didn't put that on the agenda. I didn't.
I wasn't here.
No, there
so-
must be. Janet probably sent them to me. I don't know what I did about them. So we'll do them at the next meeting.
Okay, that works.
Didn't we put it in the packet, Cynthia? Remember
I read through them.
from
They were in the
Okay,
packet.
then I put them in the packet and I didn't put them on the agenda, but in the absence of anybody who's gonna call Robert's Rules of Order on us, could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Sherman, seconded by Mr. Pasternak to approve the minutes of the previous water department meeting. Is there any discussion?
Was absent, so I will abstain.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Abstention
One
one.
abstention. You got that, Janet?
I
3 ayes and 1 abstention.
Yeah.
Okay, good catch. All right, so, Josh, we have the policy discussion as a separate thing, so why don't you just start with, whatever overall.
Okay.
Going on. And in fact, if you wanted to do the motion thing here, because that's really part of what's been going on.
Sure. Yeah, so the VOSHA thing. So Tracy from VOSHA contacted me today. She's the one that came down and did the survey of the town office, the well building and the garage. So this is basically a short rundown of her findings that need to be corrected. Her supervisor has gotten this breakdown, and he's going to be the one sending us out basically violations and or fines that need to be corrected based off of this list. So we'll be receiving that, and then we have 21 days after receiving this to reach out to him and have an informal meeting on Zoom to go over what we're doing to improve and fix the violations. But this is basically a short rundown of what she found. This working surfaces, this would be a basically removing the generator, putting it outside, and reconfiguring all the piping in the well.
Stuff we've talked about
This is
previously,
the
though.
South Road well
Yes.
house?
Yes. And then, as well as removing the electrical panels, and once we expanded the room, would be moving them, so those are code as well, because they're currently right over top of the pit. So, and then there's some other,
I was trying to look the other way when I was in there.
that's probably best. And then there's some smaller stuff like safety data sheets. I have that, so we'll be able to cross that off the list. High wash station, that'll have to be implemented, installed. She wanted a little bit more PPE. Right now, we just have glasses. She wants an apron, and potentially some rubber boots when I'm batching the chlorine, and transporting it. So there's a few other things, but I would say the biggest thing is going to be figuring out how to reconfigure it and
The pipes.
putting the generator outside, which I did get a quote for, and that's in the neighborhood of $27,000-ish. So that's gonna be substantial. And I don't know what the timeline.
What are the recommendations for that though? Like we're just gonna, I mean, we obviously like the highest cost is gonna be moving the conduits and reconfiguring the pipeline, so to
Sure.
speak. But as far as like building and keeping a roof over it, is that
Is it
something
a
that?
whole new generator or is?
Yes, it would be, because this one's not outdoor rated.
So it'd just be like a Kohler or
Yes.
whatever outdoor
Yep.
generator?
It was a Kohler. And technically, we're considered emergency since we supply water to schools and the medical facility. So they need to come and be able to test it every year as such.
Well, there's internet there, so you can monitor it.
Does that make any room by moving that outside?
Moving the because half the building right now is half of it's the pressure tanks and the piping, and the other half, or a little bit more than half, is the generator.
So moving
So
that
removing
actually
that
will,
would be able to allow us to insulate and expand it and make the whole building usable for just. the
and there'd be
piping.
more room for whatever we're doing
And
with
that,
the
yes,
piping or whatever.
yes, correct.
So move the generator outside and then you would move the breakers and stuff probably at the same time,
Yep.
right? So you probably have another 10K.
Yeah, I mean, we're
That's
easily
3 things,
talking
right?
like 50 grand to do what we need to do, and probably more than
And,
that.
and we don't know what the timing is, right? We don't know.
I don't know if
If
they,
they'll give us like, you've got a year to do this or
Sure.
whatever they'll
Sure.
say, we don't know. And you were talking about some grant program, whether it was SRF. I
yeah,
can't
so they're gonna
remember.
be coming out with a new round of grants that we can use most of this for, at least apply for it, not to say we'll get it, but we can at least try to get it. So we'll have to wait and see when they do the next round and apply for it. But
Mhm.
just so you guys know that that's coming down the pipeline.
My question would be, how has it made it through this far in compliance?
I guess
And then
they
all of a sudden you're.
Probably never been.
never been, if I had to
It's had
guess.
to have had an inspection in the past.
It was private, remember? I don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
but
but they would have
They
respected.
had to inspect everything before we took it over.
Probably fell under the radar.
Some things just got pushed under the rug kind of thing.
And you know, they just keep, I mean, I think some of these are
add up
obvious.
after a while.
Some of these are so obvious that
Right.
it would have been caught by anything,
Sure.
but you know, you would think, I just don't
So we'll
understand.
just have to wait and see a timeline. Obviously, we can take care of some of the smaller stuff and let them know we intend to talk about this during the next budget year and also
Right.
apply for a grant.
And the generator thing, if we get a new outdoor generator, it's new, it's more reliable, that's part of like the increase in resilience and everything, so that's not a bad thing to do, even if it wasn't.
Yeah, it's either remove the generator, put it outside, or expand the well house to the right-hand side and make it a bigger room.
What extracurricular goes into that though? Because I know a lot of generators are like propane fed or.
Yep, so this will just, it's propane fed now and it will continue to be propane
Okay.
fed. So they quote us out for propane fed, and then obviously there's warranties and blah, blah, blah that you can add on.
Sure.
So, but the base, pretty much them come install it and just like the bare minimum without anything extra. It's the person we currently use to come and inspect the generator every year. I believe it's Brookfield Services, or out of Northern Vermont.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's who I pay anyway.
Should we maybe
Look locally too.
look a little bit local?
Sure.
And
Well, we
do
should-
like Timothy's or
Oh, we're gonna,
Tyler
we have to go out to bid.
Bids,
Have to go out
you
to
have to
bids,
go out to
yeah.
bid, get 3, or.
I just wanted to get
single
a
source
rough
through
number so
Sourcewell.
we knew what we were getting. into.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't have to get
Right.
into the nitty gritty now.
Okay,
because
So-
yeah, you're right.
I mean, what we need to be planning for this,
Yeah.
but we need to wait and hear from.
Hey,
Sure.
Glenn, I was thinking like, if you expanded the well house, but if you poured a pad and then built, you're probably at the same, by the time you move the generator into the new space.
Right.
And that wall is where all the electrical panels are too.
Yeah,
So
that's why I was
regardless, so at
thinking.
least if you get rid of the generator on the other side, you can slowly insulate that and then add on and move things slowly. But either way, you're looking at a costly expense,
Yeah.
needless to say.
Yeah. Well, the loose ladder, the PPE and the SDS, those just check off with them, right?
Right.
Sure. So we'll just have to wait and see exactly what they have to say, but we'll definitely have to move
They're
it towards
usually
budget
pretty
year.
good.
When do you expect that? Within the next couple weeks?
Yeah, it sounds like we're gonna get that in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, when it's bad news, the state's really fast.
Well, you can, do you have just like a wall mounted bottle eye
No.
wash station there?
can't have one of those. It's gotta last for 15 minutes. So that's gonna
Oh.
be like
Just
$500-600
Yeah.
because I think it has to last 15 minutes and have so much flow. So they do make a wall mounted one you can buy off Uline and it's like $500.
That's not our problem. I mean, the problem is, you know, the other stuff.
But
So,
there's
I mean,
really nowhere to mount it and where you actually need, where you might get a spill.
Right,
with
where you
chlorine.
need it.
Yeah.
Right,
we'll,
right.
we'll work that out, but I think
I was just curious.
but all of these things are improvements in safety, and even though they'll be expensive, we want to do this, we want to.
Right.
Well, you have to.
So-
It's just-
I know, but we want to anyway, I mean, because we want to be safe.
I think typically if you can cross a few things off straight away, like
Yes.
they're pretty forgiving about the timeline
Sure.
going forward, as long as you have a
Plan. Yep, I
Yeah.
agree. So we'll just have to wait and see on that.
Okay. Is there anything else about what you've been doing or anything? I know you were reading the meters and sent out the bills.
Yep, read the meters. We replaced the 2 pressure tanks in the house.
Oh, that's right, you showed me photos, yeah.
So we did that last week. So those are new. And then just been doing odds and ends.
And
Did the
refresh
property
my-
transfer last week?
I haven't heard anything about it yet.
Refresh my memory on when you were digging for the well pit discharge.
Drainage, hopefully maybe this week or next week. And then we're gonna have, James is gonna be starting the project probably next week if I
The
had to
South
guess.
Street.
Yeah,
Now, are you working with Mark on
yes.
the well
Me and
pit?
Mark are gonna do the well. pit.
And you're coordinating with him?
Yes, yeah. He was on vacation last
No, I know
week.
that, I just wanted to be
So,
sure. I
yes.
wasn't supposed to do anything, you guys.
Nope, nope. So we'll get that taken care of.
You-
Awesome.
Okay, then I guess we could get on to the policy discussion. And, actually, I don't think we gave them what it is now.
So basically, these 4 charges up above they are currently $50 each. And the language associated with them is not particularly great. So I briefly, below the charges, wrote my explanation, what I would think it should be said. I mean, obviously, we can use a little different terminology or whatever you guys think, but that's just my recommendation. And I'm basing these numbers off from what we currently charge. And I would say moving forward, we would continue to do that. So when we charge more in the future, we would increase these numbers. So basically, disconnection, reconnection would be somebody we are turning off that is over $500 that we determine should be shut off, and they would have to pay these 2 amounts if they wanted their water turned back on, as well as any past due amount. And the deactivation and reactivation fee is double the base charge. And that would be somebody that has a seasonal home or is doing renovations or just has a vacant home. And they would pay that charge right up front. And then we would charge them a quarterly fee of $52.
And right now, when we have a couple of places that are inactive, according to Robin, I think there's one where the house burned down. So there's no house, and so it is inactive. I don't remember hearing anything about this. But the key thing about the disconnect and reconnection, and this was shown in Mr. Ackerman's, is that right now, we would charge the $50 disconnection fee, and then we kept charging him for the water the whole time, because the water's there, it's available, he's not using it, he's disconnected, but we kept charging. And so I think Josh's point is, does that make sense? Now, our approach has always been the water is there. It's your decision whether you use it or not. But maybe it makes,
But if they pay for the disconnect, then.
if they pay for the, if they pay more for the disconnect and then eventually the rest of the bill gets gets taken care of, maybe that's enough. And this other option might be something that somebody would choose. So we don't want to make it too easy to turn it off and not pay anything. We were always saying, okay, it may be turned off, but you're still paying because the water's there. You just turned it off, So this is I want to be clear that this is a change from our current practice. Because right now, when it's disconnected, we kept charging for the water. Apparently for the inactive, we didn't, but I didn't even know about inactive.
If anybody goes to inactive currently, they're not paying anything. The way it was previously done. And
But
I
you
don't-
have to be in good standing to go to inactive, though, if you have an
That's
outstanding
how
bill.
I have it.
Yeah.
I
But
don't
at
know
that
how
point, they
previously-
still have to pay that 155 disconnection fee.
Nope. Not the way I have it worded, because if somebody has a seasonal home and we deactivate the account, per se, that would either be the valve inside the home and or the curb stop.
Okay.
That's how I would word
And
it.
I think that extensive renovations or somebody going away for like a year, they're going to Europe for a year. It's not just going to,
But
South
it's to make
Carolina.
somebody think, because even if you are going away for a year, you're paying
You're
a
paying
year's
2
worth of
quarters.
base rate
Yeah.
plus the 52
Yeah,
quarters.
Sure, absolutely.
So you make
It's not
somebody
really
think,
worth
yeah,
it.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And
know-
that's what we want.
If you disconnect,
Yes. That's
we're not accepting any new connections.
correct. The disconnection would be just turning somebody off.
Yeah.
But
What
we would
happens when
always,
they want to reconnect though, since we're not accepting any?
no, but that would not be a new customer.
It's just
That
the
would be an
terminology.
existing
It's not
Terminology,
necessarily
okay.
somebody reconnecting to a new customer.
Not a
connecting
new
to one.
customer connecting,
Yes. It's an existing customer.
reconnecting.
Yes.
Sure, okay.
And the thing is, the disconnect and the reconnect is only for people who have not paid their bill.
Paid their bill.
Whereas the
Which is
activation
fair.
and deactivation.
I think the one thing too that we're missing and that we should talk about is when do we put a title lien on the
Yes,
house?
and I talked to Robin about that, and she said that, one of the issues is that a lien, and I don't know if this is true, but this is what Robin told me, so it has to be true, really, when you think about it. She said that it only lasts for 6 months.
It does,
So-
and you have
Yeah,
to keep
So you have to
repaying.
keep renewing it, and so what it is like, if you hear, someone's gonna buy this house that's got this water bill, then you put the lien on. But we're not necessarily gonna hear it. I mean, this is a Sunderland house, you didn't hear
Yeah,
anything about it,
Mhm.
So I don't know how we would wanna.
Well, I mean, there's,
Negotiate that. We've got the Phyllis Allen. We'd be more likely to hear about that, because I think that's in Arlington.
I think
Yeah.
that it's worth leaning and just putting a calendar item in your calendar to
Yeah.
be
Right,
like,
I don't
you
even know
know,
what's involved in it.
customer
I don't know what's involved in it.
ABC's lien is expiring on Friday,
And they
so
just
we
renew it.
refile it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're the municipality, so I got to thinking about it. I'm like, okay, you got 30 and 60 days. So like a business is a net 30 account. They're gonna write a check on the 45th day, right? If they're even early, if it's a big corporation, not that we have a lot of those in Arlington, but they're probably you're gonna get your check in 90 days. So they just pay the late fee and don't care. I think it's the over 120s. It's either at the 90-day mark or the over 120s that we should be leaning the property. We should be doing a
And I
title
think
lien.
particularly when we have the estate, because,
100% when we have the state.
no,
and
the
the
estate.
estate, the
yeah,
estate,
yeah.
yeah, 100%. And I mean, I would also argue that it's over 120 days besides putting a lien on it, and especially if it's an estate, that the attorney's office should start collection efforts. And not just us trying to collect, but, I mean, even refer them to an outside collection agency.
I don't know that we've ever done that. I mean, what we've done is resorted to turning off the water. But that is difficult. I mean, sometimes there's children there, it's just, That's hard.
It's hard, but
But that's the only thing that's worked. It's worked to get people to come in and set up agreements and, it's worked. to
You
get
know, I
people
go
to
down
come
and
in.
look, and I get
Okay,
setting
we're
up
getting
an
ahead, we're
agreement,
getting
but-
ahead of ourselves, getting ahead of ourselves.
But I
Let's come
think
back.
we
to
need
the
to do
transition.
something about liens and
Yeah, no,
have a
I made a
policy
note.
on
I
that.
made a note. I made a note.
So I think everybody should just, going back to this.
Yeah.
These charges, I think everybody should just think about what they think would be fair and right for the charges moving forward, and maybe what some of the terminology should be, and we can revisit this.
So, we do have one owner of multiple properties who may be doing all this
I don't think
renovations. It's
there's,
not it's not so imminent that we need to.
I don't think there's gonna be more than 10, 12 people that are gonna fall under this deactivation, reactivation.
Okay, so what would the board want to do? You want to think about this, and it would be 3 months until the next regular meeting.
I am all for,
I think these rates look good.
yeah, I'm all for
I mean,
renewing these.
and the thing is, just like with the water rates, we can just change them at this meeting and, you know, unless you feel that we should have them out there for a while before, but I really think we can change them because we can come back and change them again if this is not right, or if somebody abuses it, or there's something that we didn't realize.
Well,
that
I
was
think
gonna
you get
be
less
happening.
abuse this way than what they're currently
Right.
at.
I think
And
as far
then-
as the rates go, this to me all looks good.
Okay.
Is there any statute with the Public Service Commission on whether you can charge a reconnection fee or not?
We already do.
Okay, because I know,
I
I
know
think there
nothing about
is
the
something for
It's
the
already
electric.
in place currently, but I don't know
Okay.
the specific
Okay.
laws associated with it.
I know that I remember doing this research a long time ago with the disconnection notices,
Yep.
and it has to be in
Yep.
a certain color piece of paper
Right,
and all of
right.
that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
so. I would be fine moving forward with these special rates, and then we could even formulate something for a formal policy on leaning property and just do that
Yeah.
ahead of one of our
Yeah.
select board meetings, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Instead of waiting 3 full months.
Right.
But I would make a motion to approve the special water rates as presented for disconnection and reconnection, deactivation and reactivation, and a quarterly maintenance fee where applicable.
I second that.
With the new,
I was gonna say, do we have to read through them as?
I
With
said
the new
as
one?
presented.
Okay,
presented.
Janet.
because it's all online.
Janet, I don't think you have this, do you?
No, I didn't get a copy of that, but I would
We'll
like
leave it
it.
on your desk.
We'll leave it on your desk. Okay, so, the motion was to approve the new special rates, and somebody seconded?
Yep.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so now we have the accounts receivable review. And before we get to that, let me just say, Josh, remember that piece of the deed that you had for the
Yes.
executive? Do you still have a copy of it?
Yes.
Because mine
I
somewhere.
got one I can share with
Okay.
everybody.
I can make copies in there.
Yep.
Okay, so I just wanted to see if I had
So
to
this
go
is
into.
pretty
my-
much where it was before, and obviously we're gonna be getting rid of Ackerman. So then
Who's that?
we'll be in the,
Yeah.
we'll be in the 50s. And that's with the most recent bill that we just sent out in April.
Who does the agreements with people?
The agreements.
There were
Payment
payment
plans.
agreements with some people.
So that's been a little wishy-washy. And eventually I'm going to revisit that, and I'll have to track it more closely because Nemrick doesn't track that.
Cause on the second page, like the fifth one down, account 031.
Mhm.
This is a person who has lots of problems, but that is a very significant bill.
Yeah.
And, my impression, I don't know what you gentlemen might recall, is that she may have even gotten help from the state during COVID, and, she had a payment agreement. but I do not know the status. I mean, one of the things that I think we need to know at this meeting going forward is if someone has a payment agreement and are they keeping up to it?
I think I think what should happen is I should send out, information to basically renew the payment plans with people. More or less reinstate it, re-up it as far as amounts. So I have that information exactly. And moving forward, keep track of that.
Okay.
Because there's been 5 or 6 people that have kept track of this.
Oh, I know.
Throughout we've owned it,
I'm not
and
criticizing you at all because there've been so many
it's-
different people involved.
Sure.
And this is a very difficult area. It's really
I
hard.
mean, when was it? Well, the last time I was on the board, I think Janet was tracking
Yeah.
some of that.
And
Janet
the water
and Robin
department
was
should be tracking it if we are gonna
And
do it.
Burr would
Mhm.
know in his head about who was this and who was that, but he didn't like dealing with this part at all, and I understand that. But we can't let that go on. That
No,
can't
yeah.
go on.
I agree.
So
And I-
just going forward, have that be part of the preparation for this meeting is checking on that. But I agree with you, sending people, because some people may be like, oh, well, they're not paying attention, so I'll pay my other bill, you know?
Sure.
It's
And
like,
what threshold are we sending disconnect notices now?
I don't remember where we were last time. Did we get down
We
to
did
600?
say
or
that
something?
we were gonna be sending disconnect notices.
Anything over $500.
Yeah,
Yep.
Okay.
we
I
made
mean,
that
we've got
decision last
12
meeting.
properties that are $36,000 of this debt. 12,
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. If they're not gonna pay, they get shut off. Sorry.
and I know that can be there's a number of challenges, and it's not, I mean, it's a hard thing to do, right? But it is a service and a commodity that. you
And
just
don't
can't-
we,
The town's also
wasn't
in
there,
business.
and there is a whole process of sending the letter and then posting something at the property.
Uh-huh.
And that's spelled out. And I think we have to start that process, start looking at that.
And I think we updated that when Nick first got here in
Yeah.
the policy manual,
Yeah.
because I
No,
remember.
it was all,
I vividly
Yeah, and
remember
we
the,
did
like,
it,
colored
and
sheets of
remember,
paper.
we did it for a number of people and
Mhm.
they made payments, set up agreements and all this kind of stuff. And then it just kind of, and during COVID, you actually
You couldn't do
turn
it, and
anybody
that's when
And
it,
so I think we've kind of lost track of that
Yeah.
and, that's part of this. So, and again, I mean, like there's a number of the estates, like 2 or 3 estates that are a big chunk, but we have to pick that up. We have to pick that up. So I would ask that, if the board agrees that when we come up on the next meeting, that, send things to people who've got agreements. If you've got that, get help from, Janet and Robin and then be prepared to tell us where we are with that. And as far as I'm concerned, if we want to say, look at the agreements, pursue the people with agreements, and people who do not have agreements should get, you're in danger of disconnection notice, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
And then maybe by the time we come back, we don't have to disconnect as many people because they all got nervous.
right. Well, and we should decide too, that at that time, if it's in an estate, do we want to send it to legal for collection if it's a bank-owned property? Right? I mean, we got some leverage there if the bank.
Right,
owns
because
it.
they don't care, they're not using the water,
Exactly.
but that's where the lien comes in too.
Yep. No, but there's no reason why if the bank owns it, you can't proceed with collection activities against the bank.
I don't know how much that costs.
Usually they
Percentage.
don't I mean, you can hire like Dun& Bradstreet to do it and they take a percentage of it, but probably be worth it. You probably actually get payment that way from bank-owned properties.
Yeah, and what's really disheartening is, when there are these new names on the list, you know, names that were never on the list, and now there's new names on the list. That's just really disheartening to me.
I mean, when does because there's names on the list, but I see them gone way down. Does this work as like a January 1st kind of thing, like the end of the year is January 1st? Because there's a name in particular that just caught my eye, but it's well low. Maybe they just decided, well, I'm gonna wait for the end of the year and then I'll send the whole thing.
How do some people have like $1.83? Is it just when their check came in versus
be
statement
interest or
closed?
something, yeah.
Probably, okay. I mean, it's like not like 75 cents.
The only one I asked that about is.
I'm on the third page. What was that again? I mean, because there's a whole, it must just be statement close date for those. First page, second page.
Extremely high last time we had this conversation. Now it's not totally high.
Which one?
254.
Looks like
Yeah,
everything's
it's not
settled up
much,
except for the
Significantly.
last-
So maybe
Yeah,
it's just like one of those things
yeah.
where, well, I'll just pay it all at the end of the year. Like that's what I was wondering, like what the fiscal year with that was in comparison to everything else, but it's gotta be same, right? I
It'd
mean,
be tax returns too.
sure.
Yeah.
No, I get
Yeah,
that
my
too.
tax return will settle that up. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Like, is there a common denominator in all
Sure.
of this that?
Sure. Yeah, I think by when we have our next formal meeting, I'll have a little bit better grasp on
Sure.
what we need to send out, in the process moving forward to keep track of payment
Yeah,
plans.
yeah.
And whatnot.
Yeah, and I mean, you've been busy doing, you know, everything, getting things straight and, organizing things, so, and it's disheartening that this has slipped as far as it has. I mean, it's, but again, during COVID, we couldn't do anything, so it just, but we have to, I mean, this money here is a significant chunk of the VOSHA repairs.
That's exactly where I was gonna
I
go.
was thinking the
Yeah,
same
I mean,
thing.
it just
right?
about matches, so
Yep.
there you go.
Yeah.
So that.
So
gives us
are we are sending disconnect notices?
We haven't currently yet done that.
I think we need to. Let them know that they're up for disconnect.
So it would,
Get the
it's like the
ball rolling.
warning,
For
it's
the
the
120s.
warning, and then there would be the disconnect, so they
It's
would
a
have the.
three-part
Kind of going off
process.
what we had talked about the last meeting that we had, right? And that we're kind of in agreement with you that.
Yeah.
We're gonna go by your lead
I
at this
think
point,
it's
so.
if I remember, it's a three-part process and the warning comes out on green and then one comes out on yellow.
And it's all in the,
and one
it's all
comes-
in the policy,
it's
you know,
all
and
in there.
Jenna can help with that. So what do we wanna, instruct Josh in terms of the cutoff point, who goes to that?
I mean,
To the-
You said $500.
We said 500.
$500.
Five hundred over 90, 500 over 120. I mean, I just want him to have a clear instruction.
I was
that's all.
more
I don't
leaning
care.
towards the 120, but
I think
that's.
120,
Okay.
because there isn't actually
There's not.
anybody over
Okay,
90.
that's fine, that's fine,
So
that's
I
fine.
think,
But not the total, just the 120. I mean, the total just includes the interest.
yeah, no, I'm
rate,
not
so-
looking at the total. I'm looking at
No.
over 120.
Okay.
And I think, that really
another 10.
covers like, if it was a business, right, the
Yeah,
whole,
yeah.
okay, we pay net, you say net 30, we pay net 60, you get it.
Sure,
You
it kind of
know,
goes hand in hand with what you were
80.
saying last meeting, honestly.
Yep.
You know, the grand scheme, there's a little bit of caveat, but sure.
Yeah. And is it easy enough that you can set up like a form letter and just, well, you could probably dump these to an Excel spreadsheet and then just do a
Nemrick
merge
will
and-
auto-generate. I talked to the North Bennington water operator, and I guess Nemrick will generate the
Oh.
disconnection. So I'll have to look
Nice.
into that because I'm
Yeah.
not familiar with that, but they'll just auto generate for you.
And Janet must
That
have,
would be excellent.
Yeah.
forms or templates or whatever, if there's anything else that you.
Sure.
22.
22
Over.
people, over
22.
500.
Oh,
That's it.
perfect.
Some of them are just
Out
over,
of the 460.
but yeah,
Yep, okay.
And those are our biggest
and
ones,
half
right?
of those
Yeah.
account for
$36,000.
$36,000 worth.
And does that list reflect this, the bills just came out. So
Yes.
what does this list reflect? The amounts that are owed in that bill and people haven't had a chance to pay it yet, or the amounts
Yes.
before the bill?
Might be just.
The
before.
amounts before, it's the amounts before the bill.
Okay, all right.
So if somebody's close, they would be over.
Yep.
All right, that's.
Well, yeah, if Nemrick will auto-generate it, it's gonna look at balance aging.
You
and
probably
just
can put
spit it
in
right
a
out.
certain amount and it'll just
Yeah.
auto generate those, so I'll look into that.
Awesome. I can come and help you with that too. I'd be interested in if you want. I don't understand this one.
Okay. So Josh, you feel like you've got your orders on that?
Yep.
Okay.
H2.
Forever.
So shall we move to all other business? We already did the VOSHA, so that, taken care of. So
Page two,
we are
15.
down to,
Yeah.
Personnel and
legal.
you guys okay?
You good?
Yeah, no, we're good.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we're good.
Okay. So we're
Yeah.
down to the executive session. Janet, I don't anticipate any particular action coming out of the executive session. So, we will make a note of the time for you, and I will have copies of the materials that, Josh brought to the meeting for you on your desk.
Perfect. And if you could write down who does the adjournment, that would be great.
Who
And
does
the
the
time,
adjournment? That
and
would
the
be really
time.
good.
And the time.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So could I have, a motion to establish the reason for the executive session?
I'll make a motion that a premature discussion of a personnel and legal matter would cause the municipality to suffer a substantial disadvantage. I shouldn't read two things at once.
I'll second that.
All right, motion and a second to establish the reason for the executive session. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. All right, now let's actually have a motion to enter into executive session.
I'll make a motion to enter into executive session for discussion of said personnel and legal issues and to invite Chief Operator Brace to remain in the room.
Second.
Motion and the second to actually enter into executive session. So we will go ahead and do that, and Janet, I will provide you with that information when we come out of executive session and adjourn the meeting. Meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, Janet.
Thanks, good night.
Good night. Cynthia.
Yeah.
Here you go. Oh, sorry. It's bad for you, buddy.
It's clear soda, within the other stuff I've been drinking for years.
It's only when you mix it with the other stuff.